Hi guys, welcome back to 100% Mags. So we are going to be looking at the Premier League predictions table for the 22-23 season, with the Premier League just around the corner, with Newcastle of course kicking off our season on the 6th of August, and of course Arsenal kicking off theirs on the 5th of August on the opening day. Arsenal, I do believe, are the team to kick off the entire Premier League season. So of course, let's get into talking about where I do think the teams are going to finish come the end of the season. We're going to start from the relegation teams and go all the way up to the top two, the eventual champions, or who I think is going to be the eventual champions anyway. So without further ado, we'll start with 20th place, and I'm going with Everton in a 20th place. Now, to the Everton fans out there, this is not because of what happened at Goodison Park last season at all. This is just purely, my thoughts on what happened with his last season in the league. It was a really bad season for Everton. Didn't put in a good performance at all, and of course, you haven't spent at much money at all in this window. And looking at that, and the problems that are going on behind the scenes at the club as well, I think this is going to be a season again where Everton will be fighting that relegation battle, and it is another, case of where you're looking at Frank Lampard to, prove once again if he's a good manager or not, because since his days at Derby County, he really hasn't proven to be that good of a manager. He's in a similar boat to Steven Gerrard at the moment. I know Steven Gerrard went off to Scotland, and won the league there with Rangers and went undefeated in the league there at Rangers. But no disrespect whatsoever in what I'm about to say here about the Scottish League, but it's a fizzy pop league. At the end of the day, you could send bloody Steve Bruce there and he would probably go undefeated in that league. Its quality isn't the best, and you know, I don't mean any disrespect whatsoever by that, to anybody that might be a Scottish League fan. At the end of the day, it's just not on par with the Premier League for quality, for teams, that are fighting for that title every season. There's only really two teams in the Scottish League that fight for the title. But looking at Everton, it really isn't great. They haven't had the best of times last season, and I think they're going to be, in there or thereabouts come the end of the season, fighting that relegation battle again. And that is why I am going to put them down at 20th place in the league to finish dead bottom of the Premier League this season. Moving on to number 19 in the league, and I am going to go with newly promoted side here. No, it's not Fulham. No, it's not Nottingham Forest. It's Bournemouth. I've got to say they're probably the weakest out of the three that have came up this season, and I think they're going to be heading straight back down now. It is, you know, not the greatest for the Bournemouth fans. They stayed up in the Premier League the last time, thanks to Eddie Howe. Obviously, Eddie Howe is now Newcastle United manager after leaving Bournemouth quite a while ago, and now Scott Parker, an ex-Newcastle United player, ex-Newcastle United captain as well, is now leading things at Bournemouth. And again, like I say, by far, in my opinion, they are the weakest out of the three teams that are coming up this season. And purely down to that fact, I am going to go with Bournemouth to finish in its 19th place in the league. Moving on to 18th place, and it's a newly promoted side, and this time it is Fulham. Again, Fulham have done the same mistakes that they did the last time they came up, getting rid of players before coming into the league, getting rid of players that we're seeing them have last time when they were up, like Jean-Michel Seri, and other players as well. This time around, however, they do have Alexandra Mitrovic up top, which I do believe they did have him the last time as well, but he has shown himself to be a much more proven goal scorer this time around, obviously being the main reasons behind why Fulham are back in the Premier League because of the amount of goals that he scored last season for them. He's been firing them in for Fulham, and I'm sure the Fulham fans will be hoping he can do it in the Premier League. But as us Newcastle United fans known as, most people will know who have seen Alexander Mitrovic when he played at Newcastle, he struggled to score the goals. Like a similar player who has now departed ways with Newcastle and went off to Stoke City in Dwight Gale, a player again similar to Alexander Mitrovic, and the fact that he can bang away goals in the Championship but can't quite make that move up into the Premier League. And I think Fulham may be going to be seeing a similar situation once again this time around with Alexander Mitrovic and not scoring the goals in the Premier League. For the Fulham fans that are watching, I'm sure you'll be hoping, that isn't the case. And, I'm sure you'll be hoping that he can bang away the goals and show what he's shown down in the Championship and the Premier League. And, fair play he is if he does, because in Newcastle United, he never really did that. He didn't seem to, be able to get that goal scoring going for us when he was at our team. But for that reasons, and the reasons, that you got rid of quite a few players once again, I'm going to put Fulham in its 18th place in the league. And moving on to 17th place now, and I'm going to go with none other than Leicester City here, purely down to the fact that, Leicester are seeming to be on a bit of a downer at the moment. Brendan Rodgers is getting criticised right, left and centre for the way, the team is playing. It's very negative football, and the fans aren't really impressed by it. It's the King Power, and also the fact that, their best player, in what I would say is their best player in Jamie Vardy, is now on the older side, edging towards the latter ends of his career now. Not that many seasons left for Jamie Vardy, a player, who was the main reason behind, alongside the likes of Riyad Mahrez and N'Golo Kante, in being the catalysts for getting that Premier League title for Leicester back in 2016. And unfortunately, since then, Leicester have seemed to look to be on a bit of a downward spiral from there. And to be honest, Jamie Vardy is on the older side as well. So I just don't see things working out this season for Leicester. I don't think they're going to get relegated, of course. I think they're going to finish in at 17th place, but I just don't see things really working out. So they're going to be, there or thereabouts around that relegation battle this season. And, they haven't helped themselves neither, because they haven't spent any money in this window neither. So the owners need to dip their hands into their pockets. The owners need to go in there, and buy a few players. So, Leicester can stand a better chance in the league this season. But if they don't, then they're going to be there or thereabouts, like I say, around that relegation battle come the end of the season. And that is why I'm putting them in at 17th place. Moving on to 16th place, and I'm going to go with Brighton here. Now, obviously, we all know Brighton, they've got a really good manager in Graham Potter, but they've been losing a lot of things, in the back, like Dan Ashworth coming to Newcastle. They've also lost their big man in Big Dan Burn, who also come to Newcastle. So, I think that is going to cause some problems for them. Cucurella is another good player, at Bournemouth. I think he might be able to, at Brighton, sorry. I think he may be able to do something for them this season. But, he's not going to be able to do it on his own. There's still some decent talent there at Brighton. But, they've got to be able to show that going into the season. And at the moment, from what I've seen, they don't look that impressive. So I'm going to say, they're another team that's going to be fighting that relegation battle. And I'm going to say, for them to finish in its 16th place. In a 15th place, I'm going to go with a team that I think, it's definitely once again another team that's going to be fighting that relegation battle. And I'm going to be seeing Brentford this time. They've lost, one of their best players, if not their best player, in Christian Eriksen to Man United. Somebody, that the Brentford fans definitely wanted to stay at their stadium and at their club. But, we all knew it wasn't going to last. We all knew, Christian Eriksen was going to move on. Teams were going to be interested in the Premier League if he, could prove that he still has the best skills, and he proved it, last season. He's gotten his move to Man United. He could have come to Newcastle. He could have went to Tottenham. There were so many different clubs in for him, so the Brentford fans can't feel so downhearted on that one, because I'm sure deep down they knew, that Christian Eriksen was going to move on, but purely for the fact of, they have lost Christian Eriksen, I think that is going to be a big hit for them. And I think, they're going to be finishing in at 15th place in the league. Moving on to 14th place in the league now. And I'm going to go with Steven Gerrard's team, Aston Villa. And basically, again, it's another similar situation, with poor judgment, poor decisions being made behind the scenes. We've seen, Steven Gerrard switch his captain from Tyrone Mings to John McGinn. And when you look at it on paper, it is a really good idea. It's a really good idea because, look at what John McGinn does when he's out there on the field. He leads the team through every single play. But you then have to look at the negatives of this decision as well that Steven Gerrard's made by, making John McGinn the captain of the team. He's took the captaincy away from Tyrone Mings, which is going to unsettle the chemistry. It's going to unsettle, the united bond that they have behind the scenes as well. So that is going to unsettle their team going into this campaign, and it's a bit of a dodgy decision by Gerrard to make that decision at this point, when the Premier League season is not that far from starting. So I think for that reason, I'm going to go with Aston Villa to come in at 14th place in the league. Moving on to 13th place in the league, and I'm going to go with Leeds United here now. Jesse March is again, another manager that is going to struggle this season, I believe, but he's not going to struggle to the point where he's going to be fighting that relegation battle. I don't think he's going to be, around that mid-table position with the Leeds side. He's got some pretty good players in there as well, but, there is still time for Rafinha to move away from Leeds, a player, that has been one of the main focal points going forward in the attack for Leeds United. And if that does happen, this prediction could possibly change and it could knock them into that relegation battling section. But if they can keep a hold of Rafinha, if they can get things right, I think, they've got a chance of finishing in a 13th place in the league. So I'm going to put them in at 13th place. Moving on to 12th place in the league now. And I'm going to go with Southampton. Yeah, I don't really have a reason behind that one. I'm just, going with Southampton there because that seems like an area, where Southampton would finish in around that mid-table area. It seems to usually always be that case. They usually fight the relegation battle a little bit, then, seem to somehow find themselves in that mid-table position, unless, of course, they can, get things going from the off, and then, they have a chance of finishing inside the top 10. But this season, I think it's going to be a 12th place finish for Southampton. Moving on to 11th place, and it is the last of the newly promoted sides here in Nottingham Forest. I think, these are going to have a really good season. Obviously, they do have to take on my team, Newcastle United, on the opening day at St James's Park as well. So it is going to be a very tough start and a very tough kick-off to the Premier League season and their return to the Premier League as well for Nottingham Forest against my side, Newcastle United, which, of course, I will be hoping we can get a win in that game and kick off our season in style. And I'm sure the Nottingham Forest fans will be hoping for something similar on their side of the fence. But I do believe this is a team, that are going to be in that mid-table position. They've got a really good set of players. I know they did lose Dijon Spence to Spurs, and a few other clubs have been sniffing around a few of their players as well. But if they can keep, quite a few of that mould that helped them get into the Premier League this season, then I do believe they do have a chance of finishing in an 11th place or there or thereabouts in the league this season. But my prediction is 11th place for Nottingham Forest. Moving on to 10th place now, and I think it's going to be Wolverhampton Wanderers. I think Wolves are going to finish in a 10th place. I really don't have a reason behind this. Again, it's similar to Southampton, it just seems like a place where, you would see Wolves finishing in the league. Unless, of course, again, they can get their season going early. But if not, then I do think they are going to finish in at 10th place. Moving on to 9th place now, and I think it's going to be Crystal Palace. Now, there's some really good stuff happening over at Palace, of course, with Patrick Vieira. He's trying to do something a little bit different over there to what Palace fans have seen in the past few years. And, of course, he's trying, to revitalise that team, trying to do something similar to what Eddie Howe has done with Newcastle since Eddie Howe came in. They don't quite have the money, obviously, of what we have here at Newcastle, but Patrick Vieira is trying his best over there, Palace, and I think they are going to be in at 9th place come the end of the season, breaking into that top 10 section, and I think that would be a pretty reasonable finish as well for Crystal Palace. But of course, there's still plenty of time with the transfer window, with it not closing until the 1st of September. So there's still plenty of time, for these teams, what I've mentioned already, to be able to go out there, maybe sign a few players that could change their fates this season. But moving on now to 8th place, and I'm going to go with Man United here now. Looking at Man United, it just is not going well at all at Man United. It hasn't been going well, let's face it, since, Alex Ferguson left Man United. To be honest, he's been lurking there in the background as well since the moment he left. He's been at every single game. He's been casting his eyes over every single manager, and that can't be good, for Man United moving forward. That can't be good for the managers like David Moyes. And I do believe that was one of the reasons behind, Moyes actually failing at Man United as well. In the fact that, Alex Ferguson was right there behind, watching over. The pressure alone off of something like that has got to, get to a manager at the end of the day. But they're trying to change things there. And, of course, they're having money worries. They're having problems behind the scenes. And they're trying to change things with bringing in Erik ten Hag, somebody who was linked to Newcastle, of course, when our new owners came in. And, of course, we all know what Erik ten Hag is. He's done some wonders out there in the Dutch league for Ajax. And looking at what they've done in this transfer window so far, I'm not really that impressed by the signings that Man United have brought in. Most of them, are just Erik ten Hag, players that are related to him in some way. Either they've played under him at Ajax, or they're a Dutch international, so they want to be where a Dutch manager is to give them a better chance of getting into that Dutch international side as well. But I just don't think Erik ten Hag is going to be as good as Man United fans think, and I think Man United are going to finish 8th for this season. And of course, with all this news, of Cristiano Ronaldo as well wanting to move away, that's going to cause problems behind the scenes for them as well. So I'm going with Man United in at 8th, yeah. And at the end of the day, these predictions are all just a bit of fun. Don't take them too serious. At the end of the day, it's just my opinion on where I think teams are going to finish. But moving on to the next team, and the next team is, of course, Arsenal, who are in at 7th place, I believe, come the end of the season. And again, you know, it's another team with struggles behind the scenes, struggles all over the place. You know, there's again more worries from their fans of their team, you know, slipping down the table, slipping out of, you know, the public eye, slipping out of the interest of high profile players. And we're seeing it, you know, last season, they lost to the hands of us, you know, and they lost out on a big, massive signing of Bruno Guimaraes, who ended up joining, of course, ourselves, Newcastle. And then, of course, they could, you know, lose out as well on the signing of Lucas Paqueta, who again is linked with Newcastle. There's been reports going around saying, you know, that he doesn't want to come to Newcastle, and them reports, in my eyes, are completely and utterly fabricated. I mean, just look at the previous videos where I've talked about Lucas Paqueta. You know, he's been on the key side with Bruno. He's been over here more times than he's been at Lyon. You know, and he even got reprimanded by Lyon as well for, you know, wearing a Newcastle United kit, and he was also, you know, all over Newcastle, like I say, with Bruno Guimaraes. So again, you know, that's going to be a player I do believe that will join Newcastle. And, you know, Arsenal are going to finish 7th place. They just don't seem to be a team that are hitting the right note right now, and that is my place for them. You know, 7th place is a place that I think they are going to finish. Moving on to 6th place now, and I do believe this is an area where West Ham will finish. Obviously, West Ham had a pretty decent season, pretty good season, rather, last season, and I think with them having Europe as well, it's going to cause problems for them. So I'm going to put them in at 6th place. Other than that, you know, there's no main reason behind choosing West Ham for 6th place. I'm just going to choose them for 6th place because, you know, I just feel like that is a place where they will finish. Moving on to 5th, and this is where I predict my team, Newcastle United, to finish now. I think we are going to be a team to beat the best of the rest, if you will, this season. When you look outside of the Sinister Six, or outside of the top 6, if you want to call them that. But, you know, I think Newcastle are going to be the team to beat. We are going to be the team that is the best of the rest, if you want to put it that way. You know, look at what we've done in this window. Look at what we did in the January window. Look at the form since Eddie Howe came in last season as well. We were right up there with the likes of Liverpool on form, a team, you know, that were going for quadruples. So that just shows you, you know, the benefit of having a manager like Eddie Howe, somebody who plays a more attractive attacking style of football. And if you look at the way we've performed as well in pre-season, we are absolutely banging the goals in. 19 goals in about 5 games, I believe it is, in pre-season, which is absolutely crazy. Miguel Almiron's contributed to 9 goals, 6 of them, of course, that he has scored, and 3 of them that he has assisted. So he is absolutely on fire. So we'll see, you know, how things go this season, but I do believe, you know, Newcastle are going to finish in at 5th place in the league, or we're going to be there or thereabouts around that area. But I will go with 5th on my prediction. Moving on to 4th place, and I think this is going to be where Spurs will finish. Obviously, you know, it's an area where Arsenal and Spurs usually try to battle it out for, but I just don't think, you know, Arsenal's going to be anywhere around that this season. Like I said, you know, I think they're 7th place. But Spurs, however, I do believe, you know, they could possibly get into that 4th place once again, get a chance of being in the Champions League yet again. And mainly, you know, that is me reasoning behind it. I do believe, you know, Spurs have got enough calibre to get into that 4th place. And moving on from that, we'll go into now 2nd and 3rd place. And I do believe in a 3rd place, I'm going to go with Chelsea. Obviously, there's been a lot of stuff going on with Chelsea behind the scenes. Their owner, of course, which we all know about, Roman Abramovich, had to sell up the club and move on because of what happened in Ukraine. And also, now Todd Bowley's come in. He seems to be trying to splash the cash around a bit. And, they haven't done amazing deals, but they're doing some pretty decent deals that'll probably give them a bit of a boost here and there. And I think, to be honest, they're going to finish in third place this season. Other than that, I don't really have any main reasons to be reasoning behind picking them for third place. Moving on to second place, and I'm going to go with Liverpool here. They haven't really changed much from last season. They got rid of Sadio Mane to Bayern Munich. They brought in Darwin Núñez, somebody, who has been banging goals away for Benfica in the Portuguese league, of course. And to be honest, is he going to be able to hit the ground running from the get-go in the Premier League? We won't know, until the Premier League starts. But I'm not that impressed with Darwin Núñez, I've got to say. I don't think he's going to be a guy that, can clinch the Premier League title for Liverpool. So I'm going to go with Liverpool to finish in at second place in the league. And of course, you might have guessed it, once again, I'm going to go with Manchester City to win the Premier League this season. They're just a team, that just seems to keep improving going forward. They're the team to beat. They're always going to be the team to beat, for a while. And nobody's really going to be able to get up there until, they can get the funds to be able to push forward. And to be honest, us Newcastle United fans, Newcastle do have the chance to be able to compete at that level with Manchester City, but it is going to take time to be able to get to that level and then get beyond that level that Man City's at. But at the moment, the team to beat is Manchester City. They've done fantastic business once again in the transfer window, bringing in Erling Haaland. Is he going to be able to hit the ground running? Look at what he's done in the Bundesliga. For Borussia Dortmund. Look what he did for, RB Salzburg in the Austrian league as well before that. So, is he going to be able to adapt it to the Premier League? I think he might have some problems with his physicality. Obviously, the referees in the Premier League can be quite soft in their calls, but he's playing for Manchester City, so I think, they're going to be a little bit more lenient towards him like they are towards most of them clubs. We all know the ones I'm on about here, where they do seem to get a little bit of a favouritism towards them. Some players as well do, ones like Harry Kane at Spurs, international players seem to always get a little bit of a lenient look towards things that they do out there on the pitch. But I think, Haaland is going to be that defining factor in Man City winning the league yet again this season. And again, they've got some fantastic players that are playing there, and some not so fantastic ones, which of course I won't mention, but I'm sure everybody knows who I'm talking about. A certain guy that came from Aston Villa and didn't really hit the ground running, in my opinion. But to be honest, looking at it, I think once again it is going to be Manchester City picking up that Premier League title come the end of the season. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let us know your thoughts on my predictions. Also, let us know your predictions down in the comments below as well. I'd love to hear where you think, Newcastle are going to finish this season, or let us know where you think your team's going to finish this season, and let us know your relegation teams as well. Until next time, remember to like, share, subscribe to 100% Mags, and how are the lads?